The fellowship circled around Tyrone, their eyes fixed on the crab medallion as the final echoes of the giant's message faded. For a moment there was only silence, the kind that weighed heavy, pressing down on their shoulders like armor that no longer fit. Then the medallion stirred again. The hum deepened, vibrating against Tyrone's chest, and the air in the chamber grew tense as the faint sounds of battle crackled through the artifact. Clashes of steel, shouts of anger and pain, the distant boom of magic being unleashed. No one spoke. They didn't need to. The grim expressions on their faces said enough. Minutes dragged on like hours until the medallion shuddered violently. Above them, the vaulted ceiling flickered, then shimmered with green light, transforming into a magical projection. The image came into focus, a view of the portal near the docks. The once serene waters churned with waves, reflecting the chaos on shore. A figure staggered into view. He had the face of a man who had once been beautiful, sharp angles, thick, luxurious hair, and aristocratic features. But now bruises marred his visage and blood ran in rivulets down his torn clothing. Most alarmingly, the skin of his forehead and upper face was an angry, burnt red, as though scorched by fire. Jagged black horns sprouted through his skull, raw and painful, pushing through torn flesh. He clutched his side, each unsteady step leaving a trail of blood behind him as he staggered towards the portal.
Celadon, have mercy. It's John Dawson.
Moira whispered, her voice barely audible. Tyrone's fist tightened around the handle of his hammer, the weight of it grounding him even as his pulse thundered in his ears. His eyes remained locked on the image of his wounded friend, John, staggering closer to the portal. Every pained step sent a jolt of panic through him. Indigo's warning rang in his mind. The portal was sealed, its magic primed to deliver a slow and agonizing death to anyone who attempted to pass through uninvited. Tyrone's face was a mask of conflicted emotions as he gripped the crab medallion. He raised it to his mouth, his voice trembling but loud enough to carry.
John, stop. Don't go through the portal. It's not safe. You'll die.
The medallion pulsed faintly as his words echoed into the magic, but the image above them didn't change. John kept moving, his steps faltering but relentless.
No, John, you have to stop.
Tyrone tried again, desperation turning his words into a shout. Still, JD gave no sign he had heard. His scorched skin glistened under the magical projection, and the black horns protruding from his skull seemed to pulse as if feeding off his pain. He stumbled closer, one trembling hand reaching toward the swirling magic of the portal. Tyrone lowered the medallion, his knuckles white against the handle of his hammer.
I don't think he hears you.
Frank muttered, his voice also thick with sadness at seeing their former housemate in such dire straits. The fellowship watched in tense silence as John moved ever closer to the edge of destruction. As John steps into the portal, Tyrone closes his eyes, his breath catching in his throat. The scene burns in his mind, but he forces himself to focus. He knows with a cold, sinking certainty that if he doesn't figure out how to reopen the portal, his friend will meet a horrific end. The seconds tick by, each one dragging like an eternity as Tyrone grips the crab medallion tightly. Its weight feels heavier now, as though it too knows the gravity of the moment. He mutters under his breath, his thoughts racing to decipher Indigo's cryptic words.
Come on, there's got to be a way.
Tyrone growls, his fingers brushing over the intricate etchings on the medallion. The faint hum of magic pulses beneath his fingertips, tantalizingly close, yet just out of reach. He strains to understand the mechanism, to unlock the power buried within the necklace that could reactivate the portal and save his friend. Tyrone feels the fabric of time and space unravel, merging into something vast and incomprehensible. Though his body remains still, his mind is thrust into an extraordinary expanse where past, present, and future collide in a kaleidoscope of moments. He's kissing Daisy for the first time, the warmth of her lips and the rush of adrenaline vivid and real. He's back in the delivery room, the first photon of light piercing his newborn eyes, filling his world with shapes and colors. These memories are familiar, comforting in their clarity. But then something shifts. Tyrone finds himself in moments he has never known, yet they feel just as real. He hears his father's voice, strong and proud, calling out from the bleachers as he swings for a game-winning home run. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd. It's as though he's truly there. Then he tastes the sweetness of wedding cake on his tongue, the sugary frosting dissolving with a smile. He looks to his side and sees a woman standing next to him, radiant and full of joy. She's unfamiliar, a stranger, yet his heart swells with an inexplicable connection. The moments come in waves, pulling him deeper into this strange, timeless current, leaving Tyrone caught between the life he knows and a life he could have lived. Then amidst the swirl of memories and possibilities, something sharp and familiar cuts through the haze. Terrence's voice, it's unmistakable, filled with urgency and warmth, calling out to him as if from a great distance. Tyrone blinks, and for a moment he feels disoriented. His vision sharpens, but his eyes feel strange, alien. He's no longer standing in the fortress. Instead, he's lying on a stretch of golden sand, the air heavy with salt and the sound of waves crashing nearby. The wind brushes against him, but it feels wrong. It doesn't caress skin, it glides across something rough and segmented. Tyrone glances down and freezes. His body is smaller, compact, encased in a hardened carapace. His mind struggles to process what he's seeing. Pincers instead of hands, spindly legs digging into the sand. Somehow, impossibly, he's become the creature depicted in the medallion hanging around his neck. Terrence's voice calls again, clear and urgent, pulling Tyrone's focus back. The sands of the Solomon Islands stretch endlessly before him, but his heart tells him this moment is anything but infinite. Something important is unfolding, and he must act. Terrence's voice cuts through the haze, his usual patience replaced by frustration.
I still can't undo the curse on Indigo's mad son, but I've finished the formula you asked for.
He points to an intricate drawing in the sand. Tyrone looks down, and in an instant, it all makes sense. The lines, the symbols, they click into place in his mind. Tyrone nods, the knowledge of how to save John Dawson allowing certainty to form in the place of doubt. Terrence nods as if he can read Tyrone's mind and says,
Don't waste time, cousin. Do it now.
The urgency in his cousin's voice spurs Tyrone into action, the path ahead suddenly clear. When Tyrone opens his eyes, the world snaps back into focus. He's no longer on the golden sands. He's back on the dais, surrounded by his friends. But one thing is different. A fifth person now stands among them. John Dawson's twisted and bleeding form slowly starts to collapse. But Tyrone is there, wrapping his strong arms around the scorched skin of his Eskimo brother. John Dawson Pierre, his voice hoarse but laced with urgency, grips Tyrone's arm as he steadies himself. His eyes bloodshot and filled with both pain and determination, lock onto Tyrone's.
Tyrone, listen to me. She let me go. The succubus. She wanted me to come back. She's following me. No, she's following us. She knows about the mission, about the fortress, about everything. This wasn't an escape. It was a trap. We don't have much time before she's here with hell right behind her.
He staggers but tightens his grip, his expression desperate.
You've got to warn the others. We can't let her get to Indigo. She's counting on us, man. If the queen falls, we all fall.
Before anyone can respond to JD's dire warning, a sharp, echoing pop reverberates through the chamber, freezing everyone in place. The tension thickens, heavy and palpable. Then comes another pop, and another. This one closer, louder. The fellowship turns as one, their heads snapping toward the unsettling sounds, each crack like the ominous boom of distant fireworks. With every burst, a faint shimmer of light ripples through the air, highlighting the new presences moving through the chamber. Nearly a dozen figures have already entered through the still active portal, their forms distinctly otherworldly. The oppressive aura emanating from them is unmistakable. Neither Frank nor Dutch need the light now radiating from Cricket's sheath to confirm that demons have come out to play.